Thank you for joining me today, Snails. We are going to be discussing the Earth Realm's first empire and how it was created by a devil. Despite the Earth Realm being true to its name and its continent wrapping around the entire planet, it is a very isolating place. Mountains that reach above the clouds, jungles so thick they cause an eternal night, the most dangerous barrier, which all cultures can agree on, simply called the Great Expanse. Isolation creates two truths within societies: appreciation for those around us, and fear for those we don't know. The world can appear quite small in the Earth realm, but when we end up encountering others who don't resemble us, act like us, or even sound like us, yet without a doubt are the same, this causes fear. There are many ways mankind tries to justify its fear of one another. The most common being, they aren't man, they are monster. This is what happened to the city of Kata, as invaders from the east declared they were going to save them from Zeru, the devil of the desert. Zeru, being a devil, does not require worship, but this devil was a keystone deity, meaning the entirety of the Great Expanse, from the land to every living thing, revolves around Zeru. So when mankind first came to its domain, they had to adjust quickly. So no, the people of Kata did not worship Zeru, they merely had to accept him as their ruler. But from an outsider's point of view, acceptance could look like approval. The people of Jeruju saw it as approval. People of Kata were unaware of this danger. Little did they know the army of Jeruju was on their way, taking out every settlement along the way. They would have been completely unprepared if it wasn't for the death of their ruler. In preparation for Chagra's funeral, scouts were sent out to find flowers. On their way back, they informed him of seeing he only had one heir, his daughter Gata. Took the hand of his daughter, whispered something no one else heard. He then died very shortly after. Daim was known as the local beauty, as a figure you'd strive towards. She was often praised for her beauty, but people used this to also diminish. But when her father passed, she did something no royal ever done before. In the middle of the night, he took his body from the temple and dragged it out to the middle of the desert, laying him down in the sand. Her and the body were instantly dragged under. She was making an offering, and Zeru knew it, so he brought her deep down to the core of the desert, to where he truly laid, not a collection of worms, but one massive maggot, a one-eyed creature with thousands of arms that stretch from its back and cling it to the sands above. He was standing on a lake of black tar, colder than she had ever felt before, but this didn't stop her from looking up in awe and horror at Zeru. The devil spoke first, simply asking her to state her case. What did she want? She asked the devil for power, for the ability to protect my home. Now, a devil's power is strong, but unlike that of a god, it is not given so freely. A devil's power comes from the celestial liquor, the very black tar Beam was standing on. Celestial liquor is concentrated, powerful, beyond that of any mortal soul alone. He explained he would give her the power she needed to protect her home, but it would come with three terms. First, her soul will be his. This means for as long as she lives, her soul will not grow beyond the point it is now. Any bit her soul would have grown now goes to feed Zeru. She agreed to this term. Zeru then presented her with a scale and explained, on one side is an aspect of me, It will grow to show the power you have used. For as much as you've used, you must repay. And on the other side is the payment, the souls. Drag your dead out to the desert for me to consume. Their souls will count towards paying your debt. She hesitated, but of course agreed. Then came the last term. If she was to die, and the scale weighed on the side of the worm, the devil would take all the souls that had pledged themselves to her. She agreed. As she did, something moved from the black liquor below her. It scurried through the water, wrapping itself around her legs, and dug into her skin, until it found itself nicely in her left arm. Her arm turned cold and the skin started to turn black and crack. Her eyes would slowly start to lose color as she was brought up to the surface. Beam would be the first time that the Earth realm was aware of a pact, a symbiotic relationship between mortal and devil. Now, what did she gain from this pact? Well, she could raise the dead. Using the sands of the desert, she could dry the dead out and mummify them quickly. Maggots would then infect their corpse and bring them to serve her. This created her an army that could not die, did not eat, or think against her. Using this army, she was able to protect her home. Battle was quickly in Kata's favor. The invaders did not know what to do against these soldiers. They could not kill, and even worse, every one of their dead would quickly be swept by the sands, turned against them. So they fled, and Gaim thought herself the victor. She took all her dead and sent them out to the desert, even the ones she had not risen yet. After, she returned to her throne, and the scale was perfectly even. She felt good, unaware that the invading force of Daruju was not going to just accept a defeat. They used these claims of these undead against her, saying that they had to save the poor souls of the desert. And this is why. That the devil and their worshippers are able to turn your body into a slave against you. So more troops came with more weapons, and even along with them, some new allies. When Gaim heard about this, she wasn't sure what to do. Her recent payment to the worm left her without any soldiers. But the desert was very large. There are many settlements, others of which surely will come to her aid. Yet sadly, even for some of these settlements, scared of the monsters she was, and the monsters she could create. To some, it proved the invaders right. Clearly, she was doing wrong. Clearly, it was evil. We tend to bring life to our own fears. But when not everyone would follow her in life, Gaim knew all would follow her in death. Her efforts expanded. You were either with her or a tool to be used. She did not just use the dead for warriors, she started to use them for labor, constructing new buildings, increasing labor forces in farms, providing a beneficial life to the people of her ever-growing army. She had won the war, and that all these places were now under her one rule, her one empire. Yet now she was concerned. He had created a new standard of living, a standard that the undead were the ones to work, and the living are meant to live. But as the undead would work, the scale would lean heavier to the side of the worm. She was concerned if she was to die, so would her empire. That was, she was unaware of the second gift Zaruru gave her. She would live for a very long time, or at least 2 more of my lifetime, before she died. In this time, the empire had fully been established. The living were born to express, enjoy life, to learn, study, and grow, to make art, and to find love. There was an understanding when you die, then your body was meant for work. Your mind will be gone, your body would go to repaying everything you had in life. And Gaim herself was still alive, of course, but she was not the same. Living for so long had caused changes. The once small circle in her left arm had spread to the point it resembled a sickly snake under her skin. She asked a doctor to remove this creature, But medicine was not perfect yet at this time. There were drugs she could take to help her go under, but surgery on this level had yet to be a success. So the doctor needed to practice. The doctor needed test subjects. He needed sacrifices. But as he was practicing, Beam would look more and more visibly unwell. Her appearance became a popular topic among the population. She looked wrong. She looked like a monster, they said. The doctor was working on criminals, practicing his cuts. With every passing day, the number of criminals would grow as more and more spoke out against Gaim. It got to the point she could not afford to wait any longer. Gaim needed the surgery now. There were rumors of attempts at her life, at assassinations and rebellion. She needed to make a public appearance, as she once did, to remind her people that she's still that beauty from long ago. The doctor got to work. He tried to remove the growths that had covered her back and the worm under her skin, but as he cut into her flesh, it wasn't what he expected. It was squishier. She bled easily, but it wasn't red. It was black and tar-like. He didn't know what to do, so he just kept cutting and cutting and cutting until she was dead. Now, there have been rumors of whether or not the doctor was a part of any rebellion, but simply what had happened is in that moment the doctor thought to himself, she is a monster. In the moment of her death, all the dead simply stopped. Throughout her empire, the workforce was gone. Then, one night at the capital, all the dead moved again. They headed out to the desert. And on the next morning, strange white stones circled around the capital. Before anyone could figure out what was going on, a massive worm rose from the sand and dragged the capital under. Every city that was under her rule now knows that if the stone dead ever walk out to the desert sand, you are the next meal for Zaru. I was able to speak to Zaru, and he said something quite similar to what Gaim's father had said all those years ago on his deathbed. He said, I will do whatever it takes to protect my home. That is all, snails. Thank you for joining me once again. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, now is the time to bring them up. And for the most curious of you, there is always something else to learn. But remember, in these realms, you can either adapt or go extinct. I'll see you all next time.